ബന്ധുവാമല്ലാഹുവിൻ തിരുനാമത്തിലോതുന്നു ദിവ്യമാം സൂക്തികൾ ലോകങ്ങളൊക്കെയും കാത്തുരക്ഷിച്ചിടും ലോകൈകനാഥനെ വാഴ്ത്തുന്നു സർവരും. കാരുണ്യമേകുന്ന രക്ഷകാ നിൻ കൃപ പൂരം നിരന്തരം വർഷിക്ക ഞങ്ങളിൽ തീർപ്പുകൾ നൽകുന്ന വാസരെ ഞങ്ങളെ കാരുണ്യമോടു നീ കാത്തുകൊള്ളേണമേ. ധ്യാനത്തിലാമജ്ജമാകും മനസ്സുമായി കാലം കഴിക്കുന്നു സർവഥാ ഞങ്ങളും നിന്നോടു മാത്രം നിവേദനം ചെയ്തിടും വ്യാജ ദൈവങ്ങളെ തേടില്ലൊരിക്കലും. നേരായ മാർഗം തെളിക്കണേ രക്ഷക പാരാകെ നിത്യം നയിക്കുമാറാകണി സത്തുക്കൾ പോയൊരു മാർഗേണ ദൈവമേ ലക്ഷ്യത്തിലെത്തുമാറാകണേ. നിൻ കോപവഗ്നിയിൽ വീണൊഴുമത്യന്റെ പിൻപേ അയക്കല്ലേ രക്ഷകാ ഞങ്ങളെ.
Next, I invite Naina Ma'am, Assistant Professor of Department of Psychology, for the welcome speech.
Good afternoon, distinguished delegates and participants. I'm highly privileged to extend my warm welcome to you all to this webinar on basic tenets of educational research on behalf of Research Cell and Department of Psychology and the Women's College. We are highly honored to have our distinguished guest, Dr. Sameer Babu, who graciously consented to preside over this national webinar. Research is to see what everybody else has seen and think what nobody else has thought. The meaning we give education today is more vast and complex. It is a cluster of difficult traits and aggregates of process based on specific techniques and actions with individuals and groups. In order to solve the complexity of relationship and the process, a considerable research in education is much needed. Getting on to my assigned duty, I warmly welcome our respected principal, Advocate Farida J., who is the very guiding force of our institution to this national webinar. Next, I take pleasure in inviting our chief guest and resource person, Dr. Sameer Babu, Assistant Professor in University of Kerala, who is an eminent personality with an extensive exposure in facilitating social and intellectual growth of students by creating an atmosphere of mutual respect among them. He has conducted several rigorous training sessions catering to the specialized needs of students and teachers. We are grateful to have an honored person in our session. We welcome you, sir. Next, I wish to welcome Noor Muhammad Saad, Dean of the College and the constant supporter in the college affairs. May I also kindly welcome the various department heads and the assistant professors of various departments and our beloved students. Hearty welcome to one and all. May I also state that we have the privilege of receiving delegates from outside the institution across the country. I warmly welcome you all to the session. I hope all of you will find the session to be productive and stimulating and gain beneficial knowledge from it. Once again, I extend my warm welcome to everybody present here. Thank you so much.
Next, I invite Vice Principal of our college, Dr. Arif Sir, for the inaugural speech.
Good afternoon and Assalamu alaikum. According to National New Educational Policy 2020, research is very important for all for getting higher opportunities. And I congratulate for conducting such type of webinars. And I inaugurate national webinar conducted by Research Promotion Cell and Psychology Department. I conclude my speech. Thank you very much.
Next, I welcome Noor Mohammed Sir, Dean of the College, for the felicitation.
ஐயோ உங்கள இல்ல
We move on to the session. This session is led by Dr. Samir Babu. He completed his graduation in Arabic and Islamic history, B.Ed from Calicut University, MA in Public Administration from Calicut University, and Politics from MSU, MSc in Psychology from Madras, and M.Ed from Mahatma Gandhi University. He has also done PhD from Jamia Millia Islamia. He has worked as professor in University of Kerala, Central University of Rajasthan, Aligarh Muslim University, and several others. He has also held positions as coordinator in the Department of Education in Aligarh Muslim University and as student advisor in the University of Kerala. He had organized several workshops and seminars. He has actively participated as a member in Pain and Palliative Care System of Kerala. He has been a member in American Psychological Association. He has extensively exposure in facilitating social and intellectual growth of students by creating an atmosphere of mutual respect among them. In addition to this, he has the ability to foster the highest quality of research performed by doctoral and graduate students through his rigorous training and experience. I heartily welcome our honorable guest, Dr. Samir Babu.
Thank you, Farah. Thank you so much. Congratulations to team Ansar College for organizing this type of webinar. Let us move on to the presentation rather simply giving lots of information basic. I hope that we'll begin the session. Thank you. Let me present my PowerPoint and one second. Is it visible my presentation?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, thank you. If you have some questions, I have already noted down that there are some questions from some people regarding the research and trends in research and some of the tools and techniques, statistics. Some of the research questions, I mean, related to research, some questions I have noted in the chat box. Please, any of the co-hosts, please see that and just note it down. At the end, we'll take it. Thank you. Okay, let's begin. Is the research. It's very interesting to discuss research always. As you know, research is something that we are developing, we are creating, or we are finding out a solution kind of thing. That is actually research. How do we define a research? It's basically, I am a researcher in education and educational psychology, but at the same time, I can give you an overall view of research. Maybe some of you have more rigorous experience in research. You can also complement it with some of your observations. So my basic point is to discuss the whereabouts of research as a whole, irrespective of its background, specifically humanities, social sciences, and languages. Yes, research is a meaningfully designed inquiry or a structured analysis. It is not simply just writing a paper or an essay. It's not a newspaper article. It is not that way. It is meaningfully designed and structured analysis. There are certain intention either to find out solution to a specific problem. I'm not talking about a day-to-day problem that we can tackle it in a moment or in a now or in a day. It is not that way. It is a problem that we have to rigorously work it out and work with, and we can find out some solution. Okay. Similarly, it is to arrive at a conclusion in a novel way, in a different perspective, in a novel way. If we are having a kind of conclusion with some evidences, that is also research, or explain a phenomena in a novel perspective. What is explanation of a phenomena in a novel perspective? See the historical research. Historical research. Now we know that there are some reasons behind Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Jallianwala Bagh massacre is one of the incidents in Indian history. That we know that there are certain issues, certain problems behind it. As a researcher, as a historian, or a researcher who has interest in history, you identify that from your reading, from your perception, from your discussion with some experts. Education, English, history, business, commerce, management, whatever it is, from the field in which you are working, in which you are practicing, you will come across. Definitely, we will come across any kind of issue that can be taken as a research problem. Again, question: is it a researchable problem? If I have a problem, I undertake a problem. Is it a researchable problem? Again, question: is it research? What is meaning of researchable? It has to have the characteristics of a research. After taking the problem, you have to do a research. Is it possible? So these are the concerns while selecting a problem. So we have to be very in the class. You are a language trainer. After your MA English and some of the additional qualification of language training, you are now in the field of language training. You're going to the school for training students in terms of the language proficiency. Okay, so what are the specific concern or specific issues that students are having? This is your concern. You have selected a problem. Okay, well and good. It's okay. Then you discussed with your supervisor. Can I select this problem? I identified that there are lots of issues among students in terms of their acquisition of the language, expressions, idioms, phrases. There are certain issues. Can I select this as a problem? Sometimes they ask, they tell you, okay, you select it. What is the other option if not selected? It is not specific. Some supervisors will say, why are you selecting this? This is not specific. Can you come up with a specific one? In that case, what will we do? We have to, what we have to do? We have to search the literature. Related literature you have to search. Related studies you have to search. How do we search the related studies? We have to search the related studies. That is the identification of the research gap. How do we identify the research gap? How do we identify the research gap? Through identifying specific areas that requires more attention. That is required. For example, you have identified this language problem as one of your research area. Now, once you go through different areas of this, you identified that by the previous researchers. You have identified a study from Australia, another from Singapore, another from Indonesia, another from India, North India, another from, for example, Bangladesh, another from Saudi Arabia. You have identified a couple of studies specifically related to a problem. So, what is good in research? Then what is the what is the specifically what is the significance of your research? You lost its significance because it has already been carried out by many persons. So what I have to do as a researcher? What I have to do? I have to search specifically what are the possible areas, what the person from Australia has done. What is the what were the concerns of the person from Saudi Arabia who have carried out the research? Indonesian research, what was its concern? What was the hypothesis of those who have done in Singapore? Similarly, each and every studies you are just having a postmortem, you have just a cross section, you mean what we call, you are just doing an analysis of the previous studies and identifying which area of the language problem of the students are not yet addressed. If it is addressed by someone outside India, okay, they have done outside India. So I am going to look into whether Indian students are having that problem. The study carried out in Saudi Arabia and Australia, they have done research on secondary school students. I am specifically concerned about the professional education students and their language difficulties. So that is the gap identification. What are the studies already carried out? Accordingly, you are sharpening the problem. Yes, this is my study. Nobody has carried out in this cultural context. Nobody has carried out this study in India. Similarly, we are just sharpening the problem and defining and delimiting the problem. Problems have already, I mean, for example, let me take the psychological variable, mental health, for example. Mental health has been taken by many researchers, but the mental health of the teachers working in the institutions of higher education, I couldn't find out any such study from my analysis of the related studies. Okay, well and good, it is all right. You can do it properly because this study nobody has carried out. That is actually the defining and delimiting, sharpening the problem, defining, then delimiting. How do you delimit the problem? I am taking only the professional teachers working in professional colleges. In professional colleges, what are the areas you are taking? You can delimit again. I am taking only teacher education. or I am taking only teacher education and nursing education. The other professions I am not include. I have not included in my study. Similarly, you can define and delimit the problem. The concerns you can do it. This is all about selection of the problem. Now, once your problem is selected, problem is very clear and selected, you can state your title, and after that what you have to do is you are writing the objectives. What is my objective? Major objective. What are the objectives related? Objective specifically you have to write. For example, if you are speaking about, if you are interested in doing a research on academic procrastination and the performance of students pursuing their post graduation. What is academic procrastination? They are prolonging their work. They are not doing work exactly on time. That is academic procrastination. So once you are doing a procrastination, you are having a procrastination, whether it is related to the performance of the students, that is your concern. So you have to specifically write your objective. So first you are writing the exact the research problem, relationship, or for example, a study on the relationship between academic procrastination and academic performance of postgraduate students. Academic procrastination and academic performance of postgraduate students. So what you have to do here, first you have to quantify. This is a quantitative study. You have to quantify the academic procrastination. So you just see to measure or to assess or to test the academic procrastination of postgraduate students of South India, for example. Second is to measure or to assess or to ascertain, to identify whatever it is, the levels of academic performance of postgraduate students of South India, for example. Third will be the relationship, to find out the relationship between variable X and variable Y, to find out the relationship between academic procrastination and academic performance of professional college students. Now we have postgraduate students of South India. If you have some comparison, then you will like to compare the academic procrastination of postgraduate students based on sex category. Second is to compare the academic performance of postgraduate students of South India based on their sex category. Third is, if you have some other identification, some comparison to compare the academic procrastination of postgraduate students based on their stream of study, whether they are arts and humanities and science. This is kind of writing of your objectives. When you are writing objectives, refer some standard textbooks. Standard textbook means those who have authentic textbook. I'm talking about some questions may ask. Earlier when I was speaking in a conference, standard textbook, even a professor asked, what do you mean by standard textbook? Standard textbook in the sense that the textbook is well established, the author is well established and renowned for his contribution to the research. That is standard textbook. So such internationally reputed books are available. You can go to such books and accordingly you can refer how to write and structure the objectives. Similarly, you can take very good journal articles. I'm not talking about some predatory journal articles. Some very good journal article, those who are not compromising their quality in terms of writing and authorship. So take it. Okay, that is the another area from which you are getting clarity regarding the objective. Okay, now once you write the objective, once you write the objectives, what are the other things? Once you write the objective, hypothesis, especially for a quantitative study, we have hypothesis. What do you mean by hypothesis? Hypothesis is tentative generalization about your research. When we have objective, we have hypothesis. When we have objective, we should have hypothesis, especially in quantitative research. Only in historical research, there is no requirement of hypothesis. Otherwise, we need hypothesis. Hypothesis is essential because when you have some data, you have to test what is hypothesis. Please mute those who are not conscious about it, please. Yes. Hypotheses are tentative generalization about your results. Tentative generalization about your results. Tentative generalization in the sense, tentative generalization. What are your concerns about your result? How do we find out this hypothesis? There are certain misconceptions that we can write anything as hypothesis. No, it is totally wrong. We cannot write anything as your hypothesis. We will write hypothesis based on the what we call trend of the study. See the study. You have 100 studies to find out the relationship between academic procrastination and academic performance. See the trend of the study. How many studies report that there is a positive relationship? How many studies report that there is a negative relationship? How many studies report that there is no relationship? For example, 80% of the studies report that there is a positive relationship between academic procrastination and academic achievement. Then you are also doing that way. You are just writing the hypothesis as there is a positive relationship between academic procrastination and academic performance of postgraduate students of South India. So my point is that in specific, when you have objective, similarly, in order to test the hypothesis, you have to test the objective whether it is acquired or not. You have to have certain hypotheses. Hypotheses are formed based on the previous studies. We have to have previous studies. Definitely, we must have gone through different studies related to the specific concern. Now I have taken a sample topic as relationship between academic procrastination and academic performance of postgraduate students of South India. In that, my concern is the relationship between academic procrastination and academic performance. So I am looking into the number of studies, checking how many studies have reported positive relationship, how many studies have reported negative relationship. For example, if most of the studies have reported negative, you can also write the negative. Okay, academic, those who have procrastinated, definitely they will be not successful. They will not be successful. They will not be performing high. So you can say that there is a negative relationship between academic procrastination and academic performance. There is a negative relationship between academic procrastination and academic achievement or academic performance of postgraduate students of South India. Suppose in certain cases, most of the studies have a vague result, neither positive nor negative. In such case, you can write there is a relationship. There is a relationship, but you are not sure about whether it is positive or negative. Many studies are positive, many studies are negative relationship. In such a cases, you can write there is a relationship between X and Y. There is a relationship between procrastination and academic performance of secondary school students. So here we have postgraduate students of South India. So this is a studied guess about your result. And again, it is not tentative generalization simply. It is a studied guess about your result. Related to your result, it is a studied guess. Okay. Now come to, once your objectives, hypothesis, everything is clear. Now we are moving to the part of methodology. In methodology, we have some concerns. One is design. What is design actually? Somebody will be wonder why I am not explaining the method. Now here I'll explain the method in methodology, because I have just taken the steps of research. Accordingly, I can explain the different concerns. Okay, design of research. What is design? Design is the skeleton of the research, complete parameter, complete framework of your research. It's a skeleton. In design, we'll write everything about the research process, the steps. There are certain research. I'll give you some hints and you can search and brush up your research. I mean, you can just have your, enhance your knowledge in that area, because in an hour or two, I'm not in a position to give you all the aspects of the research. Design, we have survey design, qualitative design, we have qualitative design. Similarly, we have quantitative design. In quantitative, there are multiple. One is survey design. Second is correlational design. By name itself is very clear. Correlational. Correlational in the sense that there is a relationship between and among the variables. That type of research design is correlational design. Some of the students are not writing their design. Actually, when we are writing a research report, you have to mention what design you are following. What design are you following? What design is your concern? That you have to write it properly. Correlational design. Another is experimental design. Experimental. You are having some intervention in your study, especially in psychology, social work, education, or medicine kind of thing. We have experiments and interventions. Now we are in the experimental stage of the COVID-19 vaccine. Against COVID-19, we have an experimental trials are going on. Then finally, after giving the trials, we are identifying, we are taking some COVID-19 corona affected patients, COVID-19 patients, giving a medicine to one group, another medicine to another group. With their permission, we are applying injection or oral drip, whatever it is. Then after some time, what is the recovery of the first group and second group? You are checking, and accordingly you are identifying which medicine is good in terms of its side effects, in terms of the some other cases and troubles the patients have. All the parameters you will take into account. Finally, you judge upon which of the vaccines are, which among the vaccines are all right. Can we suggest the vaccine A or vaccine B? That we'll do it according. Okay. So that research design is experimental. In psychology, what we can do that? For example, you identify that a student is having some learning difficulties. Learning difficulties. A group of students in your class, they are facing lots of learning difficulties. So what you can do is, as a teacher, you can plan a kind of what we call it as, we can plan a kind of experimental strategy, some interventions you are giving in order to remove such difficulties. You can suggest some strategies, train based on the strategies. Okay, they have some writing difficulty, train in terms of writing, giving some copies, giving some writing assignments, like giving some example write-ups, and accordingly you can write there, you can practice their writing, and it may be removed. Based on your concern, you can have some strategies based on your what we call your experimental strategy. You can apply the strategies and interventions, and finally you check whether the difficulties are minimized or not, removed or not. That is experimental strategy in psychology. Language, English language. What are the experimental studies? Students are not well in English. They are not able to speak English. So you identify that, okay, in a role play method, I can have a strategy of role play to improve the communication skill of the students, especially postgraduate students. So you're giving some assignments, you are giving some training programs of 1 week or 2 regarding the role play type of thing. You are giving some roles and they are practicing the speaking and giving or dialogues. Accordingly, what happens is they gradually perform the speaking and inhibitions will be removed, for example. So accordingly, you can say that my strategy is effective. If they have more communication skills at the end of your or after your strategy, if they are improved a lot, then you can say that statistically, we have to have statistics to support. Whether it is quantify, you have to quantify it, and accordingly, you can say that based on my intervention, in a position to strategy is effective, right? This is all about experimental design. Another design is exposed factor research design. Exposed factor research design, in the sense, exposed factor, it is the incident happens now and we are searching back, we are going backward in order to identify the reasons of the incident. An accident happened now. What were the reasons of the accident? Some of the case diaries are in exposed factor model, exposed factor design. There are some issues happen. Now we are searching. For example, you must be knowing that violinist Bala Bhaskar is that now people are, there are lots of agencies, they are looking into the reasons behind his death. Whether it was a planned accident, whether it was a murder, they are scrutinizing it. They are checking into, examining it properly. It is a kind of exposed factor research because already he has died. He's dead. He is dead. Now he's no more. Now we are checking what were the reasons behind it. So previous things we are analyzing and concluding that. Similarly, a student got some issues in the classroom. Student is not performing, not behaving well in the classroom. So he is not socially adjustable. So what were the reasons of his social maladjustment, or he is having some adjustment problems? What were the issues? What were the issues that led him to be so? That is exposed factor research. Then qualitative, we have lots of research designs. Factorial design we have. In qualitative research, we are talking about grounded theories, another kind of research design. So many research designs are available. When it comes to method, now these are some of the parameters we have already discussed. Let me detail out again some of the aspects. What is actually method? There are certain methods of research. For example, I can tell you one is explanatory research. If you are taking something, descriptive research, you must be knowing that descriptive research. It is also known as explanatory research. We are explaining something, we are collecting some data and explaining something. We are checking and observing something and explaining it, writing a report and concluding it. Such kind of research is known as explanatory research. Another kind of research is exploratory. I'm talking about method. Second one, explore. What is exploratory? Exploring something. No information is available to support. No studies have carried out to support. So something new is going on, and in order to have that, we are just exploring. In order to identify the reasons, we are exploring. It is a kind of exploration. It is a new research. Nobody has attempted the problem. Such kind of research is known as exploratory research or formulative research. Exploratory or formulative research. Similarly, experiment, I have already told you what is experimental research. Examples I've already told you. Experimental. Similarly, ex post facto, I already told you. Evaluative. Another type of research is evaluative. By name itself is clear, evaluation of a program or a process is known as evaluative research. Definitely for evaluation, there will be certain criteria, certain parameters of evaluation. For example, in psychology, we can say there was a I don't know whether it is now practicing or not. There was a scheme for adolescent girls, Kishori Shakti Yojana, KSY, Kishori Shakti Yojana of government. It was I am not sure about the existing present status of that. It is aimed at strengthening the adolescent girls in terms of the psychological traits. So whether the program has implemented successful or not, that is evaluative research. SSA program has come. SSA program has come in order to enhance the school education, primary school education in India. After implementation of some years, you are applying an evaluative research, whether it is successful, whether it is all right, whether its infrastructure is improved, whether student enrollment is increased. This type of questions you can address in an evaluative research. Another is diagnostic research. Some issues you have identified. Company, railway is not in profit. Kerala State Electricity Board is not in profit. KSRTC is not in profit. It is always having loss. Government revenue is being taken by this type of agencies or corporations. What can I do? You can research what are the issues if it is in order to diagnose. You are diagnosing as a researcher what are the specific problems or issues, otherwise challenges of the specific corporation. You are suggesting some remedies in order to enhance the capacity of electricity of Kerala. KSEB has to do this, that, and this. Similarly, you can suggest some of the issues. Railway is not in profit, so you can have this and that. This will be your result. Okay, that is diagnostic research. Case study is another research. Case, you know case, what is case? A group can be a case, an individual with serious problem can be a case, an institution with serious problem can be a case. Case study research. Then what are the other methods of research? Grounded theory research. It is a qualitative research model. Grounded theory. Intention is to develop a theory. Theory development is the concern of the grounded theory. Through observation, through reading of books, materials, through close contact with some of the participants, through interviews and observations, you are finding some of the reason and fact related. You are taking each of them as chunks of information, pieces of information, collecting and collating, and finally come up with a theory. Oh, this is a wonderful theory. And finally, you are evaluating it and proposing it. Okay, this is a theory. This is actually all the social scientists, behavioral scientists, and psychologists, they come up with a research theory through grounded theory only. The theory is possible through grounded theory approach. Okay, grounded theory. Ethnography is another approach. Ethnography. What is ethnography? People's methodology. It is known as methodology of people. This is known as ethnomethodology. Ethnography. Close observation of a culture in order to identify their socio-cultural and political scene. You have to identify some of the specific concerns of a specific group. We have many rare groups in Kerala, as well as every part of India we have. Bodo tribes, for example, Bodo tribes, we can take. Chola Naikar in Kerala. Chola Naikar is a group, a tribal group in specifically in the Malabar region, Malappuram area, Nellambur area of Kerala. So if you are observing close to the community, that is ethnography. What is the requirement? First of all, you have to get an entry to them. We need an entry to their culture. For that, we have to learn their language, we have to learn their culture, we have to be like that, we have to stay with them in their caves. In the caves, they are still staying near this kind of things, natural settings. So we have to we have to be very rigorously go into deep into their problems. As one of them, then only we can study the ethnography. As this example, in my all the speeches, I will tell an example. One of my professors from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, he was highlighting all the time one of the good examples of ethnography. A foreigner, a European researcher, he has come to India to study about the caste system. Caste system is much prevalent in India. Even now we know that caste system is there. There are lots of rapes and mishaps happening in India across various states of India related to this caste system. Knowingly, directly or indirectly, people are still having the caste system. I'm talking about not everyone, there are people. So this has to be studied rigorously. A European researchers come into North India in order to study the caste system. He stayed here for a long time, pretty long time, for 10 to 12 years to study the in-depth of the caste system. He identified that, it is not my words, I am taking the course of Professor Vankade from Tata Institute of Social Sciences. He was from School of Sociology, School of Education, as a professor of Sociology of Education. He pointed out that the European researchers has identified even in the cow dung, we are practicing the caste system. Cow dung. Cow dung is used as a fuel in North India. In South India also, some of the people are using as, I'm not talking about a biogas kind of thing. This is not gobar gas. I'm talking about it is as a fuel. It is as a what we call we are just using directly to the chula, directly burning it. After making it dry, they are using. When you visit North India, you must have those who have visited. You must have identified in the villages. They make it dry, the cow dung, and keep it as in a round shape and use it whenever they need, especially in certain seasons. They use it as fuel. So the upper caste uses the cow dung of cow only. The lower caste use that of buffalo. That is the specific result he has got from his research. So regarding how much dedication and specific thing is required to identify this kind of things. That is ethnomethodology. Then in English language, especially those who are talking about English language and language concerns, they have another methodology, discourse analysis. You're not talking about English, it's simply language. Language and concerns, discourse analysis. Culture and social issues are tackled or identified and analyzed using the use of language, gestures, body languages, and the written and oral languages. Written and oral languages, gestures, and depictions. These are taken into the inner ideas and ideals of the language will be taken into account for analysis of identifying, and accordingly the researcher identify the socio-cultural scene of the community group. In a specific society, when they write, when an author writes something, is a literary figure, for example, he is writing all the time based on his cultural parameters. So that will, in one way or the other, directly or indirectly, it will depict. Okay, so that is all about discourse analysis. Another is phenomenology. In phenomenological research, the writings will be, it is actually a kind of ethnographic research, but in phenomenology, we are writing in terms of the participants. what is the idea of the participants, that is taken into account while writing the phenomenological study result. Historical research, I have all told you, so I am not repeating it again. So these are some of the concerns of your method and design. If I come to the other group, especially the quantitative, we need a sample representation to study upon. We are not taking the entire group to study, so we are taking sample, right? We are taking sample. How do we select the sample? What is actually universe? What is universe? Can you say the totality of the concern of your study is known as universe? You are talking now. What was an example that I had for you? What is the example? Relationship between academic procrastination and academic performance of postgraduate students of South India. So all the postgraduate students from South India belongs to South India. They are your universe. It is your universe, totality based on the title of your study. That is universe. Now another term is population. Population is from which you are selecting the sample. For example, it is your title, but you're taking your study as delimited your study. What is delimitation? Delimitation. You can delimit your study based on some of the aspects. You can delimit. What is delimitation? Okay, I would like to study Kerala only. So you can delimit. My study is delimited to Kerala. Even though my title is South India, I delimit my study to Kerala. So your population will be all the students of Kerala constitute your population. Okay, population and universe. Now sample. Sample is the representative to the population. A good sample should be representative to the population. When it will be a good sample, it should be representative to the population. All the characteristics of the population should be there in your sample. If there are different kinds of people, you have to be different kind of people. Different courses and programs are running in Kerala so all the people you have to take representatively to your sample. Then sampling. I'm not detailing out the sampling methods. There are two broad categories of sampling. We have to be very specific in sampling. Probability sampling and non-probability sampling. This is only umbrella terms. Don't misunderstand. It is actually an umbrella, broad term. I mean, what we call it as probability sampling or random sample. Non-probability or non-random. This is not specific sampling. These are umbrella terms. Under the non-probability and probability, we have many other terms. Under the probability sampling or random sample, we have simple random sample, systematic random sample, stratified random sample, proportionate random sample, cluster sample, multi-stage cluster sample. These are some of the methods based on your requirement, your concern, availability, convenience, and objective. You can select any of the sampling technique. Under probability, again I repeat, under the probability or random sample, we have simple random sample, stratified random sample, systematic sample, proportionate sample, cluster sample, multi-stage cluster sample. In non-probability means there is no guarantee that all of them will be getting represented. Non-probability, purposive sample, convenient sample, judgmental sample, quota sample, snowball sample. Let me read out again. Convenient sample, purposive sampling, judgmental sample, quota sample, snowball sample. Accordingly, you decide which is your sample. Okay, you have to take any sampling technique and accordingly you have to decide a specific sampling technique. Now, after sampling techniques, you have to select some tools of study. study. Hopefully, I'll last 3, and then we'll have around 15 minutes of interaction. Because I'm not giving you everything. Some of the tools sessions we have tomorrow also related to the tools. So I'll briefly give you some of the aspects, and we will line up. Okay. Now, related to tools, there are many tools available. Some people have a misunderstanding that everything is a questionnaire. Not in that way. Questionnaire is a questionnaire. It is a questionnaire. It is one tool. You have checklist. Checklist is just presence or absence of something. You must be knowing some of the surveys in your by local panchayat member. Some of the persons will come to identify the household survey sometimes. Do you have a mixer grinder? Do you have an electric iron? Do you have a refrigerator, washing machine, air conditioner? Like a socioeconomic survey sometimes comes to yes or no. There is no answer in between. Okay, so that is what we call it as checklist. Another is questionnaire. As you know, one answer will be right, others will be options. Sometimes we get some weightage for the other answers also. That is questionnaire. Questionnaire can be 2 types, open-ended and closed-ended. What is open-ended questionnaire? Open-ended. Open-ended. Some responses will be there that if any other answer, you can write your own. That kind of questions are known as open-ended questions. What are the problems of India? Illiteracy and employment, population explosion, any other, please specify. You have an option to write your answer if you have some specific answer. That is open-ended questionnaire. Others are closed-ended questionnaire. What is closed-ended questionnaire? Only given answers. You have to take any one from the among given answers. 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, D. Any one you have to take. You are forced to take any of the responses. That is closed-ended questionnaire. Okay, open-ended and closed. Another is schedule. What is schedule? Exactly, schedule is questionnaire. Equal to, we can say, equal to questionnaire only in case of administration, it varies. Schedule is administered and recorded by the researcher or those who are collecting the data. For example, I am asking a blind student. He or she is not able to write answer for you in your given format. If you are given in a Braille format or whatever is comfortable for them, it is all right, they can write. But otherwise, it is you are asking the questions and they are you are asking the question and you yourself mark the responses in their place. That is schedule. Others are same like question. Another is scale. Scale, you know scale. Scale. What is scale? Scale is a range of answers you may have. Ranges of answers. Agree, strongly agree, disagree, strongly disagree. Always, sometimes, rarely. Very important to me, not important to me. This kind of statements are given and you are writing your preferences. That is scale. Another is test. Achievement test. In schools and colleges, we have examination. This is a test. So you can use any of the tools as per your objectives. You can use it. Techniques. In sometimes you may need some techniques like interview, case study, sociometry, projective techniques. In order to supplement your research, you can use some techniques. You may use some techniques also, not always, sometimes you use. So once everything is all right, you are going for the data collection. If it is a quantitative study, you are going to data collection. If it is qualitative, you use sometimes on material based, some interview based, some observation based. So you are going to the field or to the research room for collection of your data. After collection, you are analyzing it properly based on the objectives and hypotheses. And you are reporting it. That is another stage. Finally, you have to discuss. What is discussion? Some of the persons are failing in writing the discussion. Actually, research, in a research, discussion is the most crucial element, especially in a quantity, any research, not talking about irrespective of its nature and design. Discussion is it is very specific and it is highly significant in any research. What is discussion? You have to write why you got this result. What is the other researchers talking about your result of this concern? I got positive relationship. What about the other researchers? How many of them are in support of your result? How many of them are opposing your result? What are the specific reasons that you can tell the readers regarding the result that you got? All these aspects in a detailed manner you have to write in relation to the previous studies and your experiences. You have to write. That is what we can call it as discussion of the result. All right, now the research is out. Finally, plagiarism. Some of the aspects I can tell you. Every piece of writing is copyrighted. Most of the piece of writing, not every. Some of the organization individuals give you some free of cost without any licenses. But there are licenses. You cannot take anything from Google and write as your own. You have to ensure that it is not plagiarized. What is plagiarism? Plagiarism is writing others' words or sentences or ideas. Specifically, listen, words, sentences, or ideas. If you're writing without proper acknowledgement, that is plagiarism. So what is observable here? With acknowledgement, you can write. For example, I have a write-up with me and I published it in Google, in any Google Scholar, wherever it is. So you are observing that and writing something from my research article. You have to write that I have taken this from this person. And here you have to write. Properly, you have to give the references. How to write, how to properly arrange things, how to write your research dissertation, project or research. There are certain manuals available, manuals of writing. As a researcher, as a beginner, you have to thoroughly, clearly look into the manual that is known as citation manual. For discipline to discipline, it varies. For subject to subject, it varies. For psychology, education, management, social work, geography, medicine, commerce, kind of things, business management kind of subjects, mostly people use American Psychological Association manual. What is manual means? How to write it, how to structure it, how to write the table, where should be the heading of the table, what is the size of the letter, what font is suggested, how to write a reference of authored book, edited book, journal article, dictionary, encyclopedia. All these are explained and detailed out by a manual. So most prominent is American Psychological Association manual. For the languages, Modern Language Association manual, MLA manual. Then another manuals are Harvard. Certain journal systems may use Chicago manual, American Sociological Association manual, AAA American Anthropological Association manual. So everyone is having their own concern. So you have to be specific on the manual of your writing. This is all about my presentation. Now we can go to the discussion, some of the aspects, concerns if you have, we'll go to that. Thank you. So now we have roughly 15 minutes to discuss the ideas you have.
Sir, it's a
Sir,
quick.
can I ask one question?
Yes, of course, of course.
Sir, the example you have taken, I would like to just continue with the same, say procrastination and performance. So we know that they are not, they are negatively related, right? So this we can suggest from the review study also, and this suppose the same we want to continue with our research also. Now, how exactly do I have to show it, quantitatively, and what method will I use for that? This is what I want to know.
Okay, can you repeat the last part? How?
So we know that procrastination and performance, they're negatively related,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Now, how do I show it mathematically? I mean,
Okay.
what tool do I use? What exactly do I have to show in my research to prove that?
Yes, yes. I got it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Here, for this is it's very clear that for relationship between procrastination and academic performance, this is a correlational research. Correlational research. So here you are identifying the arithmetic mean of the procrastination and standard deviation. Similarly, arithmetic mean and standard deviation of the second concern, achievement or academic performance. Now, as a main focus, you are correlating it. For the correlation, you can use product moment correlation. If it is all right, you can use the sampling, everything is all right. The data is normally distributed. You can use product moment correlation. Accordingly, you can use that product moment correlation. If you need further clarity, like a prediction kind of thing, you can go for regression equation also. Generally, we can wind it up with a correlation. Product moment correlation is statistical calculation that you need. If you need further, you can go for a regression, linear regression. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Samir sir, can I ask you a question?
Yes, yes.
So my question is, you were talking about citation.
Ah.
We often find in the introduction part of a paper so many citations.
Yeah.
My question is, sir, can we write exactly their words because we are quoting them? Can we write exactly their words, or how to do it exact? Because people often talk about plagiarism, but they don't. I mean, people often doesn't tell you how to write it. So if you could please tell me.
Yes, yes. Thank you. I'm so happy to hear your question because most of the people are not interested in having the clarity regarding that. I'm happy in that way. See, for example, if you're taking exactly their quote, you have to write. I'm talking about APA style. You have to write in double quote. You have to write the sentence. For example, I have a paper and I'm writing it as I have written India is having a problem of unemployment. India is having a problem of unemployment. If you read my paper and you are taking the exactly same, you just give it in double quote and within bracket you write, my name is Samir Babu M. So Babu M is my second name. Babu M is my second name. Babu M, comma 2019, comma page number P.27. For example, my book you have read and page number 27 you have read. So if it is exactly the same thing, you have to call it. So for example, yes. Second concern is yes. See, let me clarity. Then you can continue. Okay. Second concern is that you are taking that unemployment is a problem that India have. Yes. But you are not exactly writing my quote, but you got the idea from my writer. So you just write that India has lots of problem like population explosion and unemployment. But when you compare the two sentences, both are totally different. But basically, in a research language, research concern, you have taken my idea into your research paper.
Yes, yes.
That is unemployment, something related to unemployment I have talked about, but you added some population explosion also. But even though you have to write in bracket, without quote, you write it in bracket. Babu M, 2019. No need of page number. Okay. Because some of the ideas you have taken from me, not exactly the idea. Right. Suppose you have taken many people together. In international paper, the beauty of the papers is that they are taking many aspects from that. For example, I'm taking population explosion is one of the aspects. For example, a author, namely A. A has written an article in 2020. India has a problem of population explosion. Author number B, 2019. She has written a paper and she written India has lots of issues like unemployment and illiteracy. Now you are combining both of them in your own language in your research paper. As suppose, let me write in my own way. As one of the developing countries, there are lots of challenges before India in its development for with its limited resources like unemployment, illiteracy, and population explosion. It is totally strange sentence, but still you have taken the ideas from A 2020 and B 2019. So you have to give in bracket A comma 2020 semicolon B comma 2019 bracket close. This is the way of writing. You can add, you can take many aspects from various authors. You frame your own sentences. You can decorate the sentences with your own ideas, but make sure that wherever you have taken the ideas, at least one or two sources you have to write in bracket. That is the thing. That is the way of writing. People understand that it is my sentence, so why do I write it? Actually, we can write anything. We can say anything, but we cannot write things. In a paper, if you write things, if you search it, many people must have told it, must have written it in one way or the other. The plagiarism is not taking the words, it is the ideas. Again, I sticking on to that point. It is not taking the words, it is taking the ideas. Ideas. Okay. Even the idea you have to give reference. Is it all right, ma'am? Gayatri ma'am?
Sir, in that case, we have to mention A, B also in the reference. Besides putting in the bracket in the normal text, do we have to write this?
This is in text. Citation has two aspects. One is in text citation, second is reference. In text citation, for example, my name is Samir Babu M. If you are quoting me as per APA in your text, you can write Babu M, 2020. Babu M, 2020. If you're writing a reference at the end, you have to write Babu M, S, Samir Babu, short form S. Babu M, S, full stop, within bracket 2020, full stop, write the name of my book. For example, Social Intelligence. S only small, S only capital. Then you have to give the name, place of publication. For example, New Delhi, full colon, APH Publishers. Like you have to write. Both in text as well as in the references.
Okay.
Sometimes people are writing the references, but they are not, they are least bothered about the in-text citation. In-text is very significant.
Thank you, Samir sir. But I would like to ask you one more thing related to what I asked you earlier. So how many citations, because I'm preparing a paper for a conference right now. So how many citations, or in the introductory paragraph, how much should we include? Is there any rule, thumb rule, or because in some papers you find so many citations, whereas there are limited ones. I would like to know, sir.
Okay, it is based on the coverage. Actually, from a conference that has been hosted by a person from Malaysia, I recently, not very recently, in the beginning of this COVID-19 situation in February, March, I attended, and he suggested that there should be, the introduction can be divided into three. Introduction part can be divided into three areas. First area should be your conceptual clarity. If it is 1,500 words, based on the journal may have their own word limit. For example, if it is 1,500 words for your introduction, so 500 words should be the introduction of the topic. Next 500 should be the theoretical, related things, literature. Yes.
So would you please repeat the second one? First is
the second one be literature. Review. First part is the clarity of the concept. Second half is literature. Third half is your problem. You have to write what you are going to do in your form. This way you can write. There is no hard and fast rule in a number of citation. The more you cite, the more it is. And he already, I got from many authors also, many speakers also, that
Okay.
the international journal mechanisms, they take into account if your globally literature is globally spread. For example, you should have literature from Australia, you should have literature from Asia, you should have literature from Europe and America.
Okay.
So it should be globally circulated and globally widespread, as well as the recent literature. Mostly you just concentrate on the recent literature.
Thank you so much, sir. Such a wonderful session. Thanks a lot.
Sir, a question from Yash Singh.
Yes.
My question to our expert is that what are the emerging research areas in education?
Okay. It's a broad question. Still, let me answer. There are lots of emerging areas. When we talk about now, we can, especially in the issues of this pandemic COVID-19, we can take the research on the quality dimensions of the interactive videos that we have, quality videos that we have, platforms, certain virtual platforms we have, certain interactive tools we have, certain for brainstorming platforms we have like Jamboard. This and its quality you can take into account. The issues and mental health challenges that students and teachers, both students and teachers have, that can be taken into a consideration. Then the special group, that is those who need a special care, especially those who are blind, visually challenged, hearing impaired, how we are treating them specifically in this situation. That I think rare studies have been carried out, especially in this situation. Similarly, the comparative education is also relevant in this area. Comparative education, how the education system is running in the pandemic situation in India and certain other developing countries as well as the developed countries. That is also a possibility. Similarly, issues and challenges before a teacher while managing the classes. Some of the teachers complain that it is not very easy to manage. Those who are not teachers, they say, oh, teachers are lucky, they can stay at home and do everything. But teachers say that we have lots of issues now. Earlier we were busy 10 to 5. Now we were busy 24/7. That is the concern of the teacher. So how can we tackle it? What are the real issues that a teacher is having? Issues of salary. There are especially in the private sector, the management is not giving 100% salary to the teachers. So these concerns you can take into account. How the quality is matter. How the assessment is taken into account in this situation. These are some of the areas you can take into account. Yes. Lots I can tell, but I think we don't have much time to discuss because lots of time we need to discuss the same issue. Thank you. Some of the ideas I have shared. Do we have further questions?
Yes, sir. Another question. What are the different methods to find relationship between our research data after we collect the response?
Yes. To find out the relationship, I have already told you the earlier question. I don't remember her name. She has asked to identify the relationship. We can use the correlation. It's the correlation is the concern. In correlation, there are specific dimensions of correlation. I cannot say that all the time you use a product moment correlation. Based on the nature of the variable, those who are psychology education kind of subject will be knowing that variables are having 4 levels: nominal variable, ordinal variable, integer variable, and ratio variable. Based on the nature of variable, based on the sample size, we can take, as well as based on their objective, you can take which statistics is appropriate. We have product moment correlation to find out correlation. This is a parametric correlation. Condition is that both the variable should be interval type variable minimum or ratio type. Second is Kendall-Stowe. If it is not nominal, you can not interval, you can use Kendall-Stowe. TAU, Kendall It is the correlation type of thing. Second, another is rank correlation. Then we have point biserial correlation, phi coefficient, tetra correlation, canonical correlation. There are many types of correlation, but thing is that based on the nature of the data, we can decide it. Anyway, I can conclude that this is a correlation. Correlation is the main statistical calculation we use for finding out the relationship between variables.
Hello, Samir. Can I ask you? Can I add one point to that question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely.
So you can also do log plots if you are looking for correlation.
Yeah.
And if it is a negative correlation, you will get the product as -1.
Yeah.
And if it is a positive correlation, the the relationship will be 1. The linearity will be 1. If you plot in log scale, you can get similar correlation. You can find correlation. That is another way of a workaround for just one point. Yeah, thank you. Just
may I
wanted
know
to
you,
add.
sir?
Sorry.
May I know you, sir? I don't have any identity of you.
I'm Sivas. Actually, my mother was listening to your talk.
Okay.
And I'm also a PhD holder. Just now finished it, so just thought of adding that point. I was also listening to your talk. By the way, it was nice talk.
Thank
so,
you.
But that question was familiar to me. That's why.
Thank you for adding. Thank you.
Yeah, you can do it in log space also.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
Myself, Spandana. I am a research scholar in human resource management.
Yeah. Carry on.
Okay, sir. Thank you. You are explaining about only correlation. What about regression analysis? Is there any compulsion to use only correlation, or our choice is there?
Yes, I mean, it is based on the objective. I told you, if you are finding out further, if correlation and if it is a regression, cause-effect relationship, or if it is kind of prediction nature, you can use regression. It is actually regression. For prediction purpose, we can use regression. It is something higher that higher. So there is no, if your objective is very limited, you can stick on to correlation. Otherwise, if you are taking it into more advanced things, or you need to explain it in a more rigorous manner, you can go to regression. It is based upon your objective. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. It is very informative session for us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for providing us with such a valuable information. Now, I invite Shahnaz ma'am, Assistant Professor of Department of Psychology, for delivering the vote of thanks.
Hello. Respected and our most distinguished chief guest of the day, Dr. Sami Babu, respected Principal Farida ma'am, and our Dean, Mr. Noor Muhammad sir, our beloved HOD, Shahnaz miss, and honorable teachers and my dear students. For me, it is a great honor to propose the vote of thanks to all who have helped us in making this webinar a resounding success. First of all, I would like to propose a hearty vote of thanks to our chief guest and distinguished speaker, Dr. Sami Babu, for his excellent class presentation and making this webinar interesting and a purposeful one. Indeed, this was a very helpful class for all those who are keen to understand and learn about the research and its methodology, and it's really helpful for class PG students. So, sir, a big thanks to you. Next, I would like to express my profound gratitude to our Honorable Principal, Ms. Farida Ma'am, and our Noor Mohammed Sir for their involvement in this webinar. I would also like to thank our beloved HOD, Shahnaz Miss, for her moral support and guidance. And I'm happy to express my gratitude to our staff members who have made this seminar a grand success. And I cannot thank our IT department team enough, especially Amjit sir, for their endless effort. A huge thanks to them. And last but not least, a big thanks to all my dear students without whom this webinar wouldn't be possible. Once again, I thank all for your cordial cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's leaving time.
Yes, sir, the session is over.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
கீழே போயிட்டேன் சார் இல்ல கீழே தான் இருக்காரு